Bo Horvat and Mathew Barzal are both really good hockey players for the New York Islanders, but they're even better when they're together. We'll talk about their chemistry and a whole lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. I'm Gil Martin. I have covered the Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars, which is about the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the New York Rangers. Great to have you here talking a little Islanders hockey. And hey, it's an exciting time for this team now, riding a 5-game winning streak and hoping to get back into a playoff spot if they continue to play well. I wanted to open up today's show talking about Bo Horvat and Mathew Barzal. And this duo, both of them are, among the better offensive players on the New York Islanders. And the Islanders need these two guys to play well for this team to have a chance to win consistently. And right now, Bo Horvat second on the Islanders with 38 points. He has 18 goals and 20 assists. He's a plus 13. And he is playing, solid hockey as of late. Now, Mathew Barzal has missed 21 games. So obviously his numbers are not as good. 6 goals, 13 assists, 19 points in 28 games. And yeah, it's been a little bit of a slow start, but Barzy playing a little better as of late during this 5-game win streak. And I'm going to say this. Patrick Roy likes to move his lines around. He likes to shuffle them, change them, go for that short-term spark. And I get it, especially on a team like the Islanders where the depth, especially because of the injuries earlier this season, has not always been the greatest, and you have a team that has struggled to score goals far too often or more often than you would like. So you move the lines around when things are not working and you try to find a combination that works. But I think at this point in time, over the last, it's been about 2 seasons now, if you count the end of the 2022-2023 season, all of last year, and now we're almost 50 games into 2024-2025, I think it's safe to say that it is in the best interests of the New York Islanders to keep Mathew Barzal and Bo Horvat together as line mates as often as possible. And again, I know that Patrick Roy is going to mix and match the lines at various times. But as good as Bo Horvat can be, and as good as Mathew Barzal can be, these two guys, they're almost like a peanut butter cup, right? They're the chocolate and the peanut butter, they're good separately, but you mix them together and there's a nice, the flavors mix really well. And what you get as a result of putting them together can be better than having either one of them separately. So Mathew Barzal, he is a playmaker. He's a skater and a playmaker. That is what makes him effective. Islander fans, everydayers, you've heard me say so many times, we all wish Barzy would shoot the puck just a little bit more. but that's not who he is. And I don't think he's going to change anytime soon. And, this year, maybe he has shot the puck a little bit more than in the past. But here we are, he's played 28 games and he's got 72 shots on goal. That's up, but it's still not, a situation where he is a shoot first kind of a guy. Bo Horvat is more of a goal scorer. He's had 30 goals in each of the last 2 seasons. Right now, he's got 18. So he can get to 30 again with a strong finish to this season. And he's at almost 3 shots on goal a game with 143 shots. But here's the deal. He likes to set up on the bumper, in between the circles, get those nice one-timers going. A guy like Bo Horvat needs a passer to get him the puck. That's what you need. And a guy like Mathew Barzal needs a finisher, a sniper, to finish the pretty passes that he makes. And again, if Mathew Barzal doesn't shoot often and doesn't have someone who can finish his passes, all that fancy skating and the ability to skate on his edges and change direction and to be faster than any of these other players around him, all of that does not produce points if he doesn't have a finisher. And Bo Horvat, if you can't get the puck to him in a position where he can shoot and score, his effectiveness is going to be reduced. Now, right now, they have a very effective trio when you add Anders Lee to the mix. And Lee is that guy who can get in front, screen the goalie, deflect some of these shots, pick up rebounds. This trio in particular has worked well during this 5-game winning streak. But long term, it's been roughly 2 years now since Bo Horvat became a New York Islander. And I think it's clear that the best hockey that Bo Horvat plays, is when he's with Mathew Barzal. And let's hope that Patrick Roy keeps them together more often than not. Anders Lee can fit in on any of the top 3 lines at any given time. But Bo and Barzy, to me, belong together. And keeping them together for the majority of the rest of this season, in my mind, is in the best interests of the New York Islanders, because they will produce more as a duo than they normally would separate. And, look, you could alternate that third player, okay? It started out with Anthony Duclair at the beginning of the season, then Duke got hurt. You could put Brock Nelson up there. We've seen that combination. We've seen some pretty questionable additions in the past. Casey Cizikas, Uncle Leo. But to me, the foundation of that first line, and in the modern NHL, we've seen a lot more duos than trios. You used to have the trio grand line, Trottier, Gillies, and Bossy. It was always a trio, the banana line. Now it's a lot more duos. And for the New York Islanders, that duo, that foundational duo of the top line, should be Bo Horvat and Mathew Barzal. Let's hope that remains a duo that stays together for the most part for the rest of this season. And let's ride that wave, because these two guys make each other the better version of themselves on the ice. And the Islanders, who still right now are only 28th in the league in goals scored. And yeah, they have a couple of games in hand on most other teams, so that number could go up a notch or two. But hey, if you're 24th or 28th, you're still in the bottom third or quarter of the league. You want to get that combination that works playing together. All right, we have got a lot more to get to on today's show. Simon Holmstrom, what is his offensive upside? We're going to talk about that. We'll preview tonight's game against the Flyers. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a power forward and enforcer who had a sad ending to his Islanders career and who unfortunately left us far too soon. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Attending NFL playoff games is an unforgettable experience that brings fans together. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I recently used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an NFL playoff game, and browsing through the deals was simple. I found a great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal was especially impressive, offering the best value for the event. The app's features like seat views before you buy and all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout made the experience smooth and reliable. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I wanted to talk a little bit about Simon Holmstrom. And, he had a great game against the Avalanche, 2 goals. Okay, one of them was an empty netter and an assist, so a 3-point night for Holmstrom. And you look at his season numbers right now, believe it or not, Simon Holmstrom is 5th on the Islanders with 26 points, and he missed 7 games this year. He has 12 goals and 14 assists. He is a +6. And, here's the question I hear asked about Simon Holmstrom, because if you take his 12 goals in 42 games, that's about a 23 goal pace if he plays all 82. And I look at his statistics and I kind of wonder what his ultimate upside is. And I think if he gains a little more confidence, and I think confidence offensively is an issue for Simon Holmstrom, he could have the potential to get you a 30-goal season. Here is the issue, and again, confidence is a big part of it, and his role is a big part of it. In 42 games this year, Simon Holmstrom has only 49 shots on goal. Who do you think, though, leads the Islanders in shooting percentage? And not by a little, but by a whole lot. Simon Holmstrom. He has a 24.5% shooting percentage. The next highest Islander is Anders Lee with 15.6%. Holmstrom, throughout his career even, has had a very accurate shot. And you look at his shooting percentage, it's gone up in each of his 3 NHL seasons. He had a 15.4% shooting percentage in his rookie year. That went up last season to 20.8%, and this season 24.5%. In 42 games this year, he has 12 goals. Last year, in 75 games, he had 15. I am not saying he's the next Mike Barzal, okay? But he can give you more offensively than what he's shown so far. They may need to adjust his mentality, his thought process a little bit, and I think the confidence aspect of it has to come into play. But right now, he's seeing a little more time on the power play, which he really didn't see very much of last year. And he continues to be effective on the penalty kill. He's got a shorthanded goal already this year and a couple of, he's got a shorthanded assist. I think the goal he scored, not the empty netter, but the goal he scored against the Avalanche Tuesday night was a goal scorer's goal. He did a 180, turned around, and beat Mackenzie Blackwood on a high wrister. That was just an impressive shot. I think that in another year, we can see a lot more offense and a lot more goal production from Simon Holmstrom. And I think he can do it without sacrificing his strong positional play, his back checking, his penalty killing, and all of those things. So for the New York Islanders, they need Simon Holmstrom to be a little bit more confident and shoot the puck a little bit more. On a team that is looking for more goal scoring, Simon Holmstrom has got to be taking and getting more than one shot on goal per game. It's 49 shots in 42 games, and yet he's got 12 goals. We need a little more offense from Simon Holmstrom. The skill is definitely there. The skill is definitely there. But you have to have the willingness to shoot, the opportunity to shoot, and you got to have a more of a goal scorer's mindset in order to take it to the next level. Simon Holmstrom is capable of it, from what I've seen. The question is, will he do it? Right now, he is a useful third-line guy, a middle six forward, and I don't think he necessarily will be a first-line kind of a guy, but I think he could be a really solid second-line player who can get you that 25 to 30 goals, maybe even a little more in his prime, and take things to the next level. And remember, Simon Holmstrom right now is 23 years old. He will not turn 24 until late May. This kid can still give you more. And on an Islanders team that needs all the offense they can get, this is a guy who can help the offense from within. And I think he just needs to be a little more confident, a little more aggressive, and needs to be coached to play a slightly different style of game in order to bring out that offensive ability. We've seen it. We've seen flashes of it. He has productivity, but I think we can get more from Simon Holmstrom, and I don't think it's that far off. If he can pick up his game a notch down the stretch, that would be a big help for the New York Islanders because, let's face it, even after this 5-game winning streak, it is not going to be easy to get into the playoffs. And you don't get into the playoffs if you're 28th or 25th in the league in goals scored all that often. You need an elite defense, and don't even get me started on special teams, although, yes, the penalty kill has been much better as of late. But you got to pick it up a little bit offensively, and I think Simon Holmstrom can do it. And by the way, the two new defensemen, Tony DeAngelo, Perunovic, they can help Simon Holmstrom by getting him more pucks. Let's see if they indeed can do that, and maybe we'll see a little more offense from Simon Holmstrom before the season is over. All right, there is a huge game coming up against the Philadelphia Flyers tonight in Philadelphia. We have a full preview of that game, plus our Islanders birthday of the day. All that coming up next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from our hosts, Steele and Flip. Find the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Islanders, Flyers, tonight in Philadelphia. Again, a 7:30 Eastern time start. And this is a huge game for the New York Islanders. You look at the standings. The Flyers are 1 point ahead of the Islanders, but the Islanders have 3 games in hand. You win this game, you pull ahead of Philadelphia, and with those games in hand, you can really help put them in the rearview mirror. Now, the Flyers played on Wednesday, losing to the New Jersey Devils by a score of 5-0. Samuel Ersson got the start. He was pulled after giving up 4 goals on just 16 shots, and Ivan Fedotov came in and finished up the game. But this was a terrible performance by the Flyers. They were dominated, only managed 24 shots on goal, and they have now lost 3 of their last 4 games. So the Islanders may be catching the Flyers at a good time. The offense for the Flyers has been steady. They're 15th in the league with right now in goals scored, but the defense has been the issue. They are 28th in the league in goals against. Their power play struggling, 28th in the league at 16.4%. The PK is 19th, a little below average, 78.5%. The goalies, as I mentioned, Ersson and Fedotov. The question is, who will get the start? I get the feeling it's Fedotov because they're playing a back-to-back. The Islanders are almost certainly going to go with Ilya Sorokin, and we'll see how that ends up playing out for the game. Travis Konecny remains their number 1 weapon offensively by a long shot. 21 goals leads the team. 37 assists leads the team. He has 58 points. The next highest player is rookie Matvei Michkov, who has 34. So there's a 24-point gap between Konecny and Michkov. That means you got to be aware of Konecny wherever he goes on the ice, and you've got to try to slow him down. Let's give you the line combinations for the Flyers, and it's Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, and Konecny on that number 1 line. Scott Lawton, Joel Farabee, and Matvei Michkov are the second trio. Noah Cates centers Tyson Foster and Bobby Brink on the third line. Sean Couturier, Anthony Richard, and Garnett Hathaway are the fourth line. On the blue line, it's Travis Sanheim and Jamie Drysdale as the top pair, Cam York and Rasmus Ristolainen as the second pair, Nick Seeler and Eric Johnson the third pair. The goalies, Ersson and Fedotov, Ryan Ellis, Nicholas Delorier, they are on IR. Igor Zamula and Ryan Poling listed as day-to-day. Now, we still have to deal with the fact that, Poling was injured by Maxim Siplikov. And even if he doesn't play, you got to figure Siplikov sat out the last time these two teams play. It would not surprise me at all if the Flyers are going after Maxim Siplikov, going to hit him, going to try to bait him into penalties, and going to try to get him to drop the gloves. I still believe, and I said this, everydayers will remember, I mentioned this at the when the incident happened with Poling and Siplikov. It would have been a lot smarter from a hockey standpoint if Siplikov just dropped the gloves in that game and got it over with. Now it's going to carry over into tonight's game. The Islanders have to try to use this to their advantage. Make the Flyers take penalties as they're trying to get back at Siplikov. I would hope Siplikov is in the lineup, that that Patrick Roy doesn't have him as a healthy scratch in order to protect him. The Islanders, Siplikov has to stand up for himself. His teammates have to stand up for him. Let's see how all of this drama plays out. But this is a huge game. You win this game, you pass the Flyers, you lose it. And even with the games in hand, the Flyers are still a team that you really have to fight tooth and nail for the rest of the season. Now, don't forget also, this is an ESPN Plus game, so you will not see it on MSG Network. So hopefully you can find it and enjoy it. And either way, we will have our key takeaways on tomorrow's show. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today would have been the 53rd birthday of former Islanders winger Chris Simon. The Wawa, Ontario native, 6'3", 200 pounds, a second-round pick of the Flyers back in 1990, but made his NHL debut with the Quebec Nordique in 92-93. Won a cup with the Nordique when they moved to Colorado in 95-96. Had a 29-goal season with the Washington Capitals in 1999-2000. But let's face it, Chris Simon, in addition to having some offensive skill, he was a tough guy. Had 250 penalty minutes one season with Colorado, 225 with the Rangers. He played for the Blackhawks, Rangers, Flames, and then joined the Islanders in 06-07. Had 10 goals, 27 points, and 75 penalty minutes, and was a plus 17 for the Islanders in 06-07. But in 07-08, some infamous incidents that caused him to be exiled from the island, ended up playing for the Wild, and then finished his career in the KHL. Unfortunately, Chris Simon left us too soon. He passed away March 18th of 2024 at the very young age of 52. A troubled life off the ice and at times on the ice when his temper kind of got the best of him. I did get to interview Chris Simon a few times, and he was a thoughtful and good guy. It's just a shame what happened to him after his career ended. One of his better games as an Islander, February 19th, 2007. Islanders hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins at the old barn. Marc-Andre Fleury, the goalie for Pittsburgh. Rick DiPietro, the goalie for the Islanders. And in this game, with the Islanders trailing 3-1, our Islanders birthday of the day, Chris Simon scores his 6th goal of the year. Randy Robitaille and Miro Shatan with the helpers. That made it 3-2. The Islanders and Penguins entered the third period even at 4. The Penguins took the lead 5-4 early in the period. And then our Islanders birthday of the day, Chris Simon struck again. Randy Robitaille and Marc-Andre Bergeron with the assist this time. That tied the game at 5, and then Mike Sillinger got the game winner in the final 30 seconds of regulation. Islanders beat the Penguins by a score of 6-5 for our Islanders' birthday of the day, Chris Simon. He scored twice. He was a +3, and he had 3 shots on goal in 13 minutes and 41 seconds of ice time. So Chris Simon is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from this very big game against the Flyers, and we'll preview both of this weekend's games against the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers as this 3-game road trip wraps up. So make sure you join us for that. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.